First thing, again, the quizzes, make sure they get into your binder where they belong. Binders due for you guys to be on Thursday. So make sure that your binder's getting ready. One of the papers that you picked up here tells you what's supposed to be in your binder. The only thing you don't have back is the Chapter 2 test and the second vocab test, because we were supposed to take that last week, and then I missed a day and it messed it up, so we didn't take that. So that won't be on there. Got all those papers from over there. 2 of them are the quizzes we're getting ready to do. This one is your review packet for your exam. All right. Make sure this is due on Thursday also. So make sure that you have it completed. On problem 18, look at problem 18 on this review packet. On problem 18, it looks something like this. It's got 2 lines. It's got 2 lines that look like this. I didn't label this point right here. Label it point L. Label that point L. I forgot to label it. The other papers that you picked up from up here, we're going to go over this, tells you what's going to be on your exam, different things that could be on your exam, and we'll talk about this paper if we have time. And we should have time, but we'll see. First thing. You see the right if I turn that off? Is everybody all right? On this, on the quiz that looks like this, on this paper, you're just going to write in the answers. Make sure your name's on it, because you're going to turn it in here in a second. Just the paper looks like this. Does everybody see the one I'm using? Yes, no, maybe? With me, Logan? Look like you wore out. Just don't feel like being here. Thanks a lot. Makes me feel good. I can't write all of these up here, so you're going to have to listen closely and just write them down as we go. The one thing I will say is we do each one. If you're naming an angle and you do this, this is why I can't write them up here, because my pen won't write on this. If you just write 3, I'm going to mark it wrong. You've got to use your symbols. So angle 3. Make sure you're using your symbols all the way through all of this. First one, I think the first one says, name a pair of vertical angles. So looking at this picture, name me a pair of vertical angles. 5 and 8. Angle 5. And this is why I'm not going to write them up here, all of them. Angle 8. Write that on the first blank. Angle 5, angle 8. Next one, I believe it says, name a pair of supplementary angles. Name me a pair of supplementary angles. 4 and 1. Angle 4, angle 1. Everybody agree with that? Are there many of them? Yeah, there's all kinds of them. Write that on the second blank. Angle 4, angle 1. We just want one pair for each one. Jumping way down to the very last blank in that first column. It says name a linear pair. We just wrote down angle 4 and 1 is supplementary. Well, angle 4 and 1 are also what? A linear pair. So write angle 4 and angle 1 down in that very last blank also. A linear pair are supplementary angles. Jumping back up to the third blank. Name a pair of alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles. How am I going to pick out alternate interior angles? What's going to help me pick them out?
Z.
So they make a Z. So if I do this, what two angles? Angle 5, angle 1. Angle 5 and angle 1. Call Mr. Clark and tell him to check you for cheating. Next one says a pair of alternate exterior angles. Name me a pair of alternate exterior angles in this picture.
Angle 7 and angle 2.
Angle 7, angle 2. Everybody agree with that? Yes, no, maybe? Write them in there. If these two lines were parallel, what do you know about angle 7 and angle 2? They'd have to be what with each other? Equal, congruent. We don't know that they're parallel. They didn't tell us that, but. Next one says name a pair of corresponding angles. How do we pick out corresponding angles in this picture?
Smash them together. They're opposite each other.
Smash the two lines together. What angles are going to lay on top of each other?
6 and 1.
6. 6 and what?
1.
2.
Angle 6 and angle 2. Are there others? Yeah. What do we know about corresponding angles if these two lines are parallel?
They're congruent.
They're congruent, they're the same also. And the next one says consecutive interior angles. A pair of consecutive interior angles. Those are the roommates, right? Somebody said 5 and 4. Everybody agree with that? So angle 5, angle 4. On the second column, for the second diagram, this one, do we want to look at this picture all as one thing?
No.
So, as we're doing this, if we use these two lines, and we could use either pair, it doesn't matter on this. I had to go through and pick out which ones, there was many different answers for all these. But if we use these two lines as our parallel lines, these other two lines are called the what? Starts with a T. Transversals. Pick me one of the transversals. We'll call this one 1, we'll call this one 2. Which one do you want to use?
2.
1.
I heard 2, so we're going to get rid of all of this. Does anybody notice anything? It's the exact same thing as the top one. Guess what your answers could be? The exact same thing as the top. Alright? So name me a pair of vertical angles. Angle 5 and angle 8. What do you know about vertical angles again? They're always congruent. They're always the same. Name me a pair of supplementary angles. Angle 4 and angle 1. Jumping down to the very bottom. Name me a linear pair then. Angle 4 and angle 1. Name me a pair of alternate interior angles.
5 and 8 and 1.
Alternate interior angles. 5 and 1. Now name me a pair of alternate exterior angles.
7 and 2.
7 and 2. Name me a pair of corresponding angles.
6
6 and 2, name me a pair of consecutive interior angles.
5 and 4.
Now let's jump over here to this side. Name me a pair of vertical angles using those. 11 and 10, 14 and 13, either of those pairs would work. Name me a pair of supplementary angles. 10 and 14. Name me a pair of alternate interior angles.
11 and 15.
11 and 15. Name me a pair of alternate exterior angles.
16 and 16.
Name me a pair of corresponding angles.
13 and 16.
13 and 16. Name me another pair of corresponding angles. 11 and 9, another pair. 14 and 12, so on and so on. Name me a pair of consecutive interior angles. 11 and 12. Make sure your names are on that. Can everybody pick out those angles? Ethan O knows that I'm going over this just because I like this stuff. That's the only reason I'm going back over it, right? Very important on your exam. You don't know how to pick out those special pairs of angles? Jameson's order going, Ebersole, if they're that stupid that they can't pick these out, then sorry, Jameson, but I can't just teach to the big brain people. I gotta let your I gotta let
brain here.
less knowledge people try to learn too.
Yeah, you're right with Jameson about that, right?
Jameson's
He's about as direct smart as a box of rock.
Jameson's very, very
Tell them about
intelligent.
your school.
He's smarter than me. He's smarter than me.
Get out the other quiz. The other new one. During Cooper's Day, I took wave cheats.
It ain't cheating, it's studying.
Hey, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
So,
I accidentally used this as the diagrams. That's why they're all long.
Oh, is that what we did? We used different.
Maybe if we get done,
Oh.
maybe I'll try to work something out with you. All right?
Gavin, is that what I did too?
Yeah, we used the wrong diagrams.
Is that what it was?
No, we didn't. Yeah. We had completely different answers.
I am
On this one, looking at the first picture here. Again, I probably won't be able to write all these in. I don't know if it'll write very well or not. Tell me an angle that we know in this first diagram. If these two lines are parallel.
Angle 5, 5, and 6.
Angle 5 is 106. How come?
It's whatever.
Yeah, it's been messing up all day. Things that just fell out there, so that's not good.
It's like the same way I guess I'm doing.
I think it might make this better. Or just do it as it.
Duffy uses glass.
No, he did.
What was that green?
Let me squeeze by it again. Angle 5 is 106 degrees. Why? Give me a reason.
Vertical.
Vertical angles. Give me another angle that we know. Angle 1, what's it? 106. Give me a reason.
corresponding angle.
So again, you're not going to be able to read that, but angle 5 and angle 1 are corresponding angles. So they have to be congruent. Give me another one.
Angle 3 is 106.
Angle 3 is 106. Give me a reason.
Corresponding.
They're corresponding with this one, it's vertical to that one. It's also what with this other one over here?
Alternate interior.
Alternate interior. I'm not gonna write on it anymore because it's not writing very well.
Angle 6 is 74.
Everything else is 70.
Angle 6 is 74 degrees.
Everything else is
Should be filling everything in as we go. Give me another one.
74,
4 is 74 degrees.
74,
Everything else is 70.
Angle 2 is 74 degrees. And one last one.
Damn, but
6 and 7.
6 or 7 on whichever one we didn't fill in is 74 degrees.
Yep.
On this next one, where you guys messed up at, because Ebersole's always wrong. Remember what did I tell you to do with the picture? It looks like this.
Separate.
Separate it. Guess what? All of them that were saying Jameson's not as smart as everybody else. Jameson, what'd you get on this quiz? 21 out of 21.
Nice, James.
Good job, Jameson.
All of them, Jameson, that were just mouthing off a little while ago, saying how you're not as smart as all these people.
Stupid.
Guess what they did not do?
Separated.
They didn't separate it, and then they screw it up.
Screwed up, yeah.
That's what I got.
Which two lines are parallel lines?
the one with the
A and B. Pick me a transversal.
21 and 21. D.
D. So if we use D, we get rid of all this.
That's right.
Again, I'm not going to be able to write on this. We get rid of all that. Tell me an angle we know over there.
70.
4 is 70. Write it in. Angle 4 is 70. Give me another angle we know.
8 and 16 or something.
8 and angle 16 are both 70 degrees. Write them in.
And the rest of them are 110.
Angle, so what are the other angles? Tell me them all.
7, 15, 110.
Angle 7, angle 15 are 110 degrees.
1 and 3 are
1 and 3 are
100.
110 degrees.
12 and 13 are 120.
Everybody get all that?
You're not there yet, Henry.
Yeah, maybe that.
Slow down.
If I erase all that, now what I want to use is my transversal.
Are you on the right? I don't think you're on the right page.
So let's get rid of this.
He is on the right page.
No, pen.
Anytime Cooper starts off a sentence, Ethan, don't. Anytime Cooper starts off a sentence with "I think,"
You think wrong, Cooper. It's
just
wrong.
don't even comment on it, because you know from there on it's a false statement. So we have this. We know this angle is 60 degrees. Tell me another angle that's 60. Angle 5 is 60 degrees. Give me another one.
14.
14 is 60. 11 is 60. Fill those in.
And then the rest are 120.
12 and 13 are 120 and 6 and 10.
Angle 12 and angle 13 are 120 degrees. And what else?
6 and 10.
6 and 10 are 120 degrees. Again, I'm going back over this just because I enjoy going back over this. Not because it might help you on the exam or anything.
Okay. Keep that in mind.
Next thing I want you to do, you're going to have to put your name on both those. You're going to lay them right here. You're going to find this set of notes. This is your last set of notes for the 9 weeks. We're going to go over a couple of things.
Grab it. I need that.
Move the chair.
Bring it in.
Don't turn that one in.
Oh, my bad.
Make sure the 2 original quizzes get into your binder where they belong.
What is this?
Piece of paper.
Yeah, but it's the line that
Explain that to him, Nick.
the line. You guys got a game tonight? Yeah.
No.
Good luck to you.
I feel they don't give the word.
On this, not sure, you might want to write some things down. I'm not sure what I'm going to do on the exam. I may let you use your binders. I may just say you can only use this one set of notes or something. I don't know. We'll see. I'm,
So what deal do we have to make to,
nothing, just
You
listen.
have to shut up, Cooper.
okay, we can do that.
Build a name, points, lines, etc. Use your symbols. If you don't use the symbols, everything gets marked wrong. Anything that needs a symbol, that doesn't have a symbol, it gets marked incorrect. Be able to measure with the ruler or protractor. Be able to use midpoint, distance formulas. Midpoint formula, again, looks something like this. Please, midpoint formula is not difficult. You've got to be given 2 points on a graph. All you do on the midpoint formula is you take the x coordinates, add them together, divide by 2, comma, 2 separate answers, and you take the y coordinates, add them together, and divide by 2. Distance formula. The original distance formula looks like this. Notice I'm not putting the subscripts in here because you're just subtracting the x's and squaring that answer, and add that to the y's subtracted and squared. This one's pretty important. Guarantee there's at least 3 or 4 problems on the exam that deal with that. Be able to find the perimeter. How do you find the perimeter of a shape? Add all the sides up. Be able to find the area. You probably need the formulas. On this, you probably want to add this also. Be able to find surface area and volumes. Be able to find surface area and volumes of shapes. You should have those formulas in your notes there somewhere that you can look at.
What are those formulas? Just so I don't have to.
There's all kinds of them. I can't give them all to you. It was I think I gave them to you in a big handout or something, didn't I?
Yes.
It was like, had a list of many, many, many. I'll give you this one. For a rectangular prism, the volume is just length times width times height. You remember, volume's always in cubic units, so units to the 3rd power. And then the surface area, there wasn't a formula for it. For a rectangular prism, remember we found the area of how many faces does a rectangular prism have? We found the area of all 6 of them and just did what with all those? Added them all together. Be able to name and classify angles. Remember, when you're naming the angles, make sure you name them using your symbols. Classifying right, obtuse, acute, so on and so on. Bisect angles and segments. Know what bisects means. Splits into 2 equal parts, whether it's an angle or a segment. Know what a midpoint is. Segment and angle addition. Remember, segment addition looks something like this. This plus this equals the whole thing. So if that part's 2, that part's 5, how long is the whole thing? 7. Special pairs of angles. Know all your special pairs of angles. Vertical angles. What's true about vertical angles? They're always congruent. What's true about supplementary angles? Add up to 180. Know stuff like linear pairs. Same as they're also supplementary. Conditional statements. What's another name for a conditional statement? If and then. So if, what's the if part? Hypothesis. Then, what's the then part? Conclusion. Negations. What's a negation do to a sentence?
Negative.
Just makes it negative. So if I said the animal is a cat, what's the negation of that?
And not a cat.
The animal is not a cat.
Not a
Converse, inverse, contrapositive. Converse does what?
Converse flips.
All right, flips or switches, the hypothesis and the conclusion. Inverse does what?
Negate.
Negates. And the contrapositive does?
Switches.
Both of them, switches and negates. Perpendicular lines. What's the symbol for perpendicular?
Upside down.
As soon as you hear perpendicular, what should you think of?
Right angles.
Right angles, what else?
90 degrees.
90 degrees.
Square.
What's a counter example show?
Wrong.
Shows that the statement is not always true. Inductive. Give me one word for inductive.
Inductive is pattern.
Patterns. Deductive.
Not pattern.
Deductive's like rules. No, the postulates and theorems and stuff, like 2 points make a what? Line. 2 lines intersect at A. 2 planes intersect at A. Line, so on, so on, know all that stuff. Be able to write 2-column proofs about segments and angles. Identify parallel, perpendicular, intersecting, and skew lines. Be able to pick those out. Know the postulates. You might want to circle this one. That's what we were just going over, and that's very, very important. Might want to circle this one. This is what we've just been covering. Like 3 or 4 problems on there, finding the distance between a point and a line or 2 lines. If 2 lines are parallel, what do you know about their slopes? Slopes are the same. If 2 lines are perpendicular, what do you know about their slopes? Slopes are they just opposites of each other? Opposite reciprocals. That means you flip it over and you change the sign. Flip it over and change the sign. Be able to do translations. Remember, a translation is just a slide. So if I have some shape and it's like right here, we have this triangle maybe, and we're just sliding it this direction, and it may just slide over here, and it may look something like that. Look at that stuff. It's been a while since we did it. Reflections. If I have this shape, and I want to reflect it over the y-axis,
The axis.
what's going to happen? The rule, and these rules should be in your notes there somewhere that you can study. The rule says that it starts off whatever, xy, and it goes to what happens to the x. It just changes the sign of the x. The y stays the same. So if this point right here was -1, 5, where's it going to end up at when we reflect it over the y-axis?
1, 5.
1, 5. It's going to end up right here. If you're just on a graph, you could just count how many spaces it is from the y and flip it over that way. Rotations, you had all those rules about rotations, something that all the rules look something like this. You can find them in your notes there. Rotational symmetry, we didn't really do a whole lot of that. Identify congruent figures, you can get rid of that. We didn't do that. Dilations, we didn't do that. Scale factor, I don't think we did scale factor, did we? Understand similarity, we didn't do that, so we didn't get those. Next thing I want you to do, that goes in your notes. Make sure you study. Grab a compass, a ruler. You already have the worksheet. Grab it from up there. Compass and a ruler. When you get your compass and your ruler, you're going to get out this sheet of paper. This is the one that we want next. Keep keep out 3 or 4 sheets of paper so you can pile them all up. You want this one on top because the only way you can use your compass is if you got more than 1 sheet of paper. Compass isn't going to work otherwise. Try to pick out a compass that's not all tore up.
Yeah, Ebersole.
Yeah.
Can I use the restroom real quick?
Try to pick out a compass that's not all messed up. Not all messed up. Probably is now because we're already doing this with it.
Why do it there? Then I put it in the back.
Once you have it, again, take this piece of paper. We're going to be on this side, one that looks like this. You're going to read the directions up here. 3 or 4, you can close everything else so you got room there on your desk. Put 3 or 4 pieces of paper underneath it. Do what it says. Don't ask me any questions, just you can ask your neighbor or something. Try what it says. Try.
What side do we start with?
Somebody hold up the paper that we're on again so everybody can see it. Make sure everybody knows where we're at. Look back there at Gavin. He's got it held up if you're not sure. Thank you, Gavin. Grant, know that this is like 90% of your exam grade. Try. I'm just being sarcastic. Try. This is going to count for absolutely nothing. Make it longer. So it goes down below.
No, you can move your head.
Brandon, can you move? Just move.
Mr. Ebersole, come here. Is this what it's supposed to look like?
I'm not telling you that. I have faith in you, Silas.
Test.
Somebody let Henry in, please.
No.
Don't be chickens either. Try. Even if you get it wrong.
Doesn't say where R is. No, that's P. Never mind.
When Silas is finished, we're going to tack his up to the board and laugh at him for doing it. Completely wrong. Silas, that's not going to happen, my friend. I don't care if it's completely wrong. Try.
So kind.
Please make sure when you get to this step, don't change your compass setting. So from step 3 to step 4, you want your compass to stay the same. I know that's hard for some of you because for whatever reason, as soon as James gets one of these, he's gonna go. I'm not sure what fun this is. Am I wrong? Do you see everybody doing this? I don't know why that's fun. I don't know.
Mr. Ebersole.
No.
Please.
No.
Please.
No. Try. I have faith in you, Gavin.
No, I have it. Mr. Down.
Yep.
Miranda.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You're getting ready to go over it right here in a second.
You know, let's bring the bottle or out.
What do you want?
Huh?
What is the measure of the angles?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
He's asking what the measure of the equals.
What angles?
He went the wrong way.
Label intersection
Also,
Q.
I'm not sure why you guys are making a big circle. You want to intersect it twice, so.
Yeah.
You don't need to make, I mean, you did there finally. I'm not sure what all this up here is doing. All you had to do was come from here.
What the heck?
So, all that circle you drew, you needed the part that you did draw is what you really needed. Yeah.
What is a measure of the angles? Do I need a protractor for that one?
Nah, I just want your best guess looking at them.
I'm slightly off, but I do.
Which angle?
Which? How far?
Form something like that, didn't it?
Yeah. Cheater.
Oh, it's just
Cheater? Yeah, I was slightly off.
Right though.
Yeah, you put line up there.
Oh, I just, I can't.
Is this going hard, isn't it?
Oh, it's definitely.
Did it look something like that?
Yeah.
Oh, this was a line that didn't have any. All right, so watch, and this is the directions they give you. A construction. We did a construction earlier this year, and it was something really easy. All a construction is anything that uses tools to create something. So now watch what they want. They want you to go, first of all, when you guys are using a or a compass, Gavin, focus. I have to move back up here, right? When you're using a compass, use it like this. All right? You guys are wanting to grab it and do all of this stuff to it because you're used to using junk compasses. Well, if you don't tear them up, which I think you're old enough now not to tear them up, that's what that top thing on there is for. And it makes it easy to draw. Now, it doesn't draw real dark, but James, that's real easy, isn't it? It makes a good circle, doesn't it? That's what it's for. All right, now I can't do that up here because number one, I don't have that little top thing on mine, and number two, mine slides all over this board because I can't poke it into the board.
I think you could.
So we want to do this.
there in the board.
Yeah, you got that.
We want to do this. We could make this a quiz, Greg. We want this to draw an arc so that it hits that twice. And that's all we need to draw. All right, something about like that. I'm not going to draw any more than I absolutely have to because it's hard up here. They said to label these 2 points what?
A and B.
Let's put an A there, B there, doesn't matter. Then once they have that, they said take your compass, put the point on A, and draw an arc down below down here. I could make it so it doesn't slip all over the place. Something like that. Don't move the compass, leave it at the same spot, same separation there. Come over B, do the same thing. So I got these two arcs. Looks something like that, and we're gonna, they said to label this point what? Then what's the next thing they told us to do? So take your ruler, connect them. I can't really take my ruler because my pen doesn't work with the ruler. But you're gonna connect those two. So you're gonna draw a line QP. What looks to be true about line AB and line QP, not QR?
Intersect at a right angle.
They intersect at a right angle. So what could I put in between here?
Perpendicular.
That upside down T. If you do that every single time, you're constructing 4 right angles there. If we do that construction correctly, then we know we have 4 right angles there every time. So if you need to make sure that something's a right angle, whatever you're doing, that process is what you could do. Next one's a little tougher on this one. Before we do this, let's see, put compass on A, put compass on B. Right here, don't change your compass in between here. I didn't put it up here, so don't, if it's spread out this far on step 2, then keep it spread out that far for step 3. Don't mess it up. Try this one. Oh, this is on the back side of the paper, right?
Yeah.
First one says, spread your compass out more than halfway. More than half the length of the segment.
Just do the whole thing.
So spread your compass out more than half the length. Probably want to use your brains a little bit. Do you want your compass spread out this far?
Yes.
Probably not, because you're going to be off your paper. All right, but you got to be more than half the length of the segment. Zach goes out almost the whole length, probably going to work. If he goes out a little less than the whole length, it's probably going to work. If he goes out this much, probably not going to work. It's not more than half. Do the same thing on the other side now.
This is so much easier to do it back. Doesn't matter which one's being hard. That's great, it's very important.
Grant, do you ever listen to Miranda?
Wow.
It doesn't matter which one's P and which one's R. right?
Wait, is it where they intersect with line AB? Or they intersect with each other?
Say A, B, or each other.
Where they intersect each other. Yeah, where they intersect each other, I guess I think I should have specified that a little better. Congruent, just geometry.
I knew that stuff, man, I'd be used at specific times, but.
Nah, it's just, yeah, it's supposed to be, but.
What is PR called?
It's a line there, I guess. Oh. What do you think it's called?
A line?
That's true, that's not what I want. It's got a special name. It was on your notes.
Yeah.
Cooper is line M.
There's a video for what?
Oh.
I am more religious.
Watch the video.
When? Was this the last time you were out?
No, Cooper.
Okay.
The other thing.
It was today.
Thing is that you usually.
Well, he's here today. Watch the video. Why don't you use your own? Is it because you made this one?
Me neither, I know it.
So they tell you to do this. Put your point on A, make like a half circle, probably not, oh, it needs to be out farther than half. Is that farther than half? I don't want to be too far out because I'm going to go off the board. Draw something like that. Don't move it. Go the other side. Do the same thing. Notice, mine spread the same as Logan's. Does it matter? No, everybody probably spread theirs a little different, right? So no matter how this works out, we're all still going to end up with the same setup, and it's still going to come out the same way. So I got these two arcs. They intersect here. They intersect here. What'd they tell us? P and R. And then they said draw in this line. Again, my line, I can't use a ruler to draw it in. You should use a ruler if you're drawing yours in. So now I have that. They said label this point, what?
M. Because it's a midpoint.
And if I take my ruler and I measure this, that comes out to be about 38 centimeters. That one comes out to be about 38 centimeters. So what's true about segment AM and segment MB? They're congruent to each other. So what did this line that we drew do to that segment? It bisected it. Then it also said what's true about these angles? They're all congruent. They're all what? They're all 90 degrees. Now the last thing it said, and this might be something you want to have in your notes or what I was just telling Cooper, this was on that one set of notes that you were supposed to watch the video for, I believe. This line is called something special. Math people, not very creative. Anybody have any idea what it's called? What was it? It was
90 degrees.
close. Keep going.
Right angle.
That's a right angle. Keep going. What else?
Right,
90 degrees.
Keep 90 degrees. What else do we call that? Perpendicular. And then it also did what else to the segment? So that segment, or that line, PR, Line TR is the
Bisector.
perpendicular bisector of what segment? Segment AB.
Could we just put bisector on that?
The name of it is that right there. It's a perpendicular bisector.
These things are
It's
sharp.
the perpendicular bisector.
He already stopped himself.
Good reading. Well, I'm trying
Well,
to.
it's when?
Perpendicular bisector. Gotta know that name. We're gonna use it a bunch the rest of the year. Set that stuff off to the side. You'll put the rulers and compasses up at the end of class. Don't do it right now. Get out the review packet. Lost mine. There you go. You ready to pick out a problem? We'll work as many problems as we can off of this before the end of class.
No.
And I don't care how we go, this is due. Day of your exam. I don't care if we go through it 1, 2, 3, whatever. You can just pick problems. You decide. Let's go.
1, 2, 3.
Number 6, I heard first. Number 6. Number 6. I could use a piece of graph paper to find this distance, but I don't have a graph up here right now. So I'm not going to use a piece of graph paper. They give us the point 6,1. And the line y equals, guaranteed there's like I said, there's like 3 or 4 of these on the exam. So we're trying to find the distance from this point to that line. If I'm not going to graph it, then that means I need to use this formula. If I use that formula, what do I need to do to this equation? Cooper. One more silly answer, you can sit out in the hallway the rest of the time. All right? Get everything on one side. If you don't have a sensible answer for the rest of the class, don't say anything. Just sit there and shut up. So tell me how to move everything over. Add 2x to both sides. Do I really need to do it all separately, or can I do it all at once? So tell me how to rewrite this equation. That's close.
2x plus y.
2x plus y plus 2. We want it in a certain order. We want the x's, the y's, then the regular number, right?
Yep.
Equals 0. What happens to everything as you move this stuff over? Just changes the sign. That's the 1 right there in front of that y, if you want to stick that in there. This is your A. That's B. That's C. This is x1. That's y1. And we're just going to plug into that formula right there, the other distance formula. How about your calculator, so you can help me out here in a minute? What's A this time?
2.
What's x1? What's B this time?
1.
Sorry, my nose. What's y1? What's C? That's everything on top. On bottom, it's the square root of what's A?
2.
What's B? You can plug all of this just the way it is into your calculator without the absolute value symbols. What's it come out to be?
6.708.
What?
Wait, no, this is, like, never mind.
15 for the top. What's the absolute value of 15? So I don't have to do a whole bunch of steps. Just 15. On bottom, what's 2 squared? 1 squared. So then it's the square root of 4 plus 1 is, you can divide that on your calculator. 15 divided by square root of 5. 6.8. Anybody else get that?
Yes, 6.81 repeating.
Is that one of the answers?
No.
What do we do wrong?
About 6.7. This is about.
It says about 6.7,
so you can round it.
Yeah, but like the answer right
So
now
it
is
says it's an
6.7.
estimation for the answer.
So 6.7.
It's about
Yeah.
6.7.
I'm so confused though, because that's still not the answer that I got.
What'd you get?
I got 6.708.
That sounds like that.
That's what I got, I agree, but like, how did you get 6.8?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't get anything. So let's punch it in again. What's 15 divided by the square root of 5?
Oh, yeah, 6.7.
What is it?
It's what, Miranda?
6.7.
I don't know. I didn't have a calculator, so I was just writing down stuff. Which one? Number 9? Everybody understand that? Now, could we have graphed it? Yeah, if you had a piece of graph paper, or if you wanted to go over here and grab a piece of graph paper, it's laying over there, you could have graphed it and tried to do that the other way. Remember, we had our point and our line, and we're finding this distance. You could have found that point and then used those 2 points in the distance formula. Number 9. Number 9, they give you a graph there. You could use that graph if you wanted. I'm not going to use the graph. Part A says find the distance between point N and point T. They give us -3, 4, and 7, 6. How are we going to find the distance between those 2 points?
Distance formula.
Distance formula. The same one we said I'm using? No, the original one. This is an X, that's a Y, that's an X, that's a Y. What's our X's this time? 7. -3. What's our X, or our Y, sorry? 6, and you can do the tick-tick little thing there, whatever teacher said. You can punch all of this right into your calculator if you want. I don't have a calculator up here, so I'm going to do it out longhand. 7 plus 3 is 10. 10 squared is 100. 6 minus 4 is 2. 2 squared is 4. Add those together, I get 104. Anybody else get 104? Somebody help me out. What's the square root of 104?
10.2.
10.2. Everybody agree with that? Part B says find the midpoint. Midpoint formula is just add the x's together, divide by 2. Add the y's together, divide by 2. What's our x's this time? 7 plus a -3 divided by 2. What's the y's? 6 plus 4 divided by 2. Remember, 2 separate answers. What is 7 plus a -3? 4. 4 divided by 2. 6 plus 4. 10 divided by 2. So what's the midpoint of that segment? 2, 5. Next question. 21. Gotta stay focused so you can ask that question. 21, they give us a picture, it looks like this. That's angle 1, that's angle 2, that's angle 3, that's angle 4. Are these two lines parallel?
Yeah. No,
They-
it looked parallel, but it doesn't actually say.
They didn't tell us, did they? So we can't say that they are. Otherwise, if we knew that they were parallel, we could just say angle 2 is congruent to angle 4 because they're what kind of angles? Corresponding angles, all right? If we smash the two lines together, so they have to be congruent, but they didn't tell us that. They did tell us angle 1's congruent to angle 3, so I'm gonna mark those two. That's all they told us. What else do we know?
That one's congruent, two are vertical angles.
How come 1 and 2 are congruent? Those two are vertical angles, and vertical angles are congruent. So if 1's congruent to 2 and 1 was congruent to 3, what do we know about 2 and 3?
Congruent.
They're congruent. So angle 2 is congruent to angle 3. How come? What do we use there?
Substitution.
Substitution property. I'm just writing down myself some notes over here. What else do we know?
Three is congruent to 4.
3 is congruent to 4. How come?
Vertical angles are congruent.
Vertical angles are congruent. Well, 2 was congruent to 3, and 3 is congruent to 4. What's that tell us about 2 and 4? They're congruent. What do we use there? Substitution again. Statements, reasons. Everybody listening? Because I'm not writing anything down. What's our first statement going to be?
1 congruent to 3.
Angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. Write that in for your first statement. Can you handle that without me writing it up there? How do we know that? What was our reason for number 1? Given. Number 2, what are we going to say? What'd you tell me next in the picture?
Congruent to 2.
Angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. That's statement number 2. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. How'd you know angle 1 was congruent to angle 2? Vertical angles are congruent is your reason. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. We're on number 2 right now. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 2, and our reason, vertical angles are congruent. Statement 3. Angle 2 is congruent to angle 3. Angle 2 is congruent to angle 3. And we use that because substitution property. Substitution property. We said 1 was the same as 3, 1's the same as 2, so 2 and 3 have to be the same. That was statement 3 and reason 3. Now we're on 4. What's statement 4 going to be? Angle 3 is congruent to angle 4. How'd you know angle 3 was congruent to angle 4?
Vertical angles are.
Vertical angles are congruent. Same thing that you put up there in number 2, right? Same thing as there. Vertical angles are congruent. So now in 3, you got angle 2 is congruent to angle 3, I think. And then 4, you got angle 3 is congruent to angle 4. You got angle 3 in both these, so what that tell you, you're going to put in number 5. Angle 2 is congruent to angle 4. And what do we use there? Substitution property again. Next question.
Can I read number 20 on the last page?
Number 20. On the vocab. two lines that intersect to form a 90-degree angle. Say it louder. Say it real loud.
Are perpendicular.
Next question. Is that one of the answers up there?
Yeah. It's actually the
Which
last
one?
I had left. I just didn't think.
Number 10. What kind of shape they give us?
Rectangular prism.
Rectangular prism. 12 inches. All right. Let's find volume first. That's the second answer, but let's find it first because it's easy. How do you find the volume of a rectangular prism? Length times width times height. Does it really matter which order? So what's the length? 12. What's the width?
8.
What's the height? Might multiply all those together for us.
576 inches cubed.
576 inches cubed. Remember, volume's always cubic units. So they're saying how many little cubes will fit down inside of there. Surface area. How are we going to find the surface area? And this works for any prism.
We find the area of all sides.
All right, so we need each face. How many faces does this one have?
6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And Ethan K over there is going to be confused because Ebersole drew them all to look the same. Does it really matter?
No.
Makes no difference. You're just finding each one. Give me the dimensions on, let's say, the bottom.
12 by 8.
12 by 8. How about the top?
12 by 8.
12 by 8. How about the right-hand side?
6 by
6 by 8, 8 by 6. How about the left-hand side?
8. 6 by 8.
6 by 8, 8 by 6. And how about the front?
12 by 6.
12 by 6. And the back?
6 by 12.
12 by 6. What's the area of this space? Area of this space? That's 96. That's not a decimal there. 96. What's this one? 48. 48. 72. What are we going to do with all those? Add them all up. 432. Anybody else get that?
Yeah.
Inches
Where?
squared.
You should give me 5.
No.
No.
What you do is switch it slightly with the X's.
Oh,
Is this 11? What are we doing?
Number 5. Let's see. We got. First one is -2, -4, -2, -4. That's E. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 0. That's F. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. So we have this triangle, and we want to reflect it across the y-axis. If you graph it like this, and again, you could grab a piece of graph paper if you wanted, all you got to do to reflect it across the y-axis is just, if we're on the graph, we could just count. How far is G from the y-axis?
5.
So how far over this way is it going to go?
5.
And when I label it, what's it going to be labeled?
5.
G prime. Does everybody remember that? You got your new points, you got to put that little prime with it, that little tick mark with
I
it.
thought you were talking about like 5 and 3.
Yeah. How far was F over? 8. So how far the other way is it going to go?
8.
And it's going to be labeled F prime.
5.
How far is Z away from it?
2.
So it's going to go over this way too. E prime.
There you just changed.
Now, the rule said, if it started off -8, 0, the rule said it goes to what? 8, 0. So you just change the x coordinate if you're going over the y. Which answer is the correct answer? A, everybody agree with that? Next question. You may have time for one more. Or you could just quit now. 18. 18. I'm not gonna write this up, or you can write it down as we go through it. It says, name a right angle. And we said to label that one, the point there in the middle, L, right? So name a right angle. NLT. Make sure you're using your angle symbol out in the front. So angle symbol, NLT. Letter B, name complementary angles.
BLT and
Say it again.
BLT and
BLT
NLT.
and what?
What?
Angle BLT
NLB.
and angle NLB. What's complementary angles got to add up to again? 90 degrees. And letter C says name 2 supplementary angles. Many different answers you could give, but SLH. So if you write down angle SLH, that's one of them. What's it supplementary to? TLH. Angle TLH. Make sure you're using your symbols. Binders due next class or Thursday. This is due. Is that it? Yeah.